webinar now. Hey, good morning, everyone, and thank you for joining us today. My name is Nicole. I'm a marketing manager here in Elsevier, and I'm delighted to welcome you to today's webinar, Rethinking Academic Review and Promotion Workflows for Success. We're really excited to have you with us. Before we begin, I'm going to go through a few housekeeping notes just to ensure a smooth session. Firstly, this session is being recorded. A link to the recording will be shared with everybody after the webinar. During the session, if you experience any kind of technical issues with connection or audio or visuals, you can try to refresh your browser. If you're still experiencing them, try to log out of the webinar and log it again and rejoin the session to resolve the problems. And your microphones will be muted throughout the session. So if you do have any questions along the way, you can just put them in the Q&A panel that is on the right side of your screen. And we will address any questions that you have during the Q&A segment at the end of the session. We have a few speakers today. I'm pleased to now bring on Jason Staples, our account manager for Interfolio, who will introduce his fellow speakers and then take us through the first part of the webinar. Jason, I'll invite you to turn on your camera, come off mute, and Somone and Graham too, if you could turn on your cameras too for your introductions. And Jason, I'll hand it over to you now. Have a great session.
Great, thanks, Nicole. Hopefully everyone can hear me okay and see me. Thank you very much for joining. Really appreciate your time wherever you are. I know we have people from Australia, New Zealand, all over the Southeast Asia, and India, as far away as India. So thank you very much for joining us. I know it's a time taken out of your busy day. So thanks very much. Wherever you're joining, please, hopefully you're comfortable, have a coffee or tea or water. We want people to enjoy the webinar, find it interactive. So, if you're sitting down in your office or in your lounge room, great. If you're driving a car, please pull over. We don't want any injuries. We want this webinar to be injury-free today. So please, sort of play safe. So thanks very much. So my name is Jason Staples. So I'm the solutions account manager for Interfolio, one of our solutions that we'll mention briefly in this discussion. But I'm really pleased to invite our speakers. So I'll quickly introduce our speakers and our featured speakers for today in this exciting webinar about rethinking academic review and promotion workflows for success. So please join me in welcoming Dr. Somone Washington. She's the Faculty Affairs Analyst at California State University from Long Beach. Somone holds a master's in educational technology and media leadership from California State University. Her current role covers reappointments, tenures, promotions, evaluation of tenured faculty, and many evaluations periodically, including the policies and procedures behind these processes. She leads California State University's Long Beach Interfolio Open Labs and the review tenure and promotion evaluation sessions. So she knows the Elsevier Interfolio solution really well, and it's great to have her here today. She, outside of these roles, she also has founded a technology solutions company called Kiasi, sorry if I've mispronounced that, Somone, a business that helps seniors improve the quality of life through basic computer and software education. She's also a published author, so her memoir is called The Best of All Things, A Tapestry of Faith, Hope, Resilience, and the Human Connection. So certainly if you're interested in reading, sounds like an inspiring book. So thank you, Somone. Please, everyone, help me welcome Somone to today's session.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Great. Thanks, Somone. And I'll quickly introduce Graham Pearson, the other speaker for today. So Graham is my colleague. He's the APAC Regional Director for Solution Engineering at Elsevier. He leads a team that work closely with our clients and partners right across the Asia-Pacific region. Graham's role focuses on providing the leadership, business insight, and operational guidance for Elsevier's software as a service solutions, which include Pure, Digital Commons, and Interfolio. Graham's got a very deep background in research administration within the Australian and APAC university sector, spanning performance, reporting and analysis, business process improvement, and data management. Graham recently spoke at the QS EduData event in Singapore, representing Elsevier, on the panel discussing building resilient data ecosystems, and he also co-led the workshop on how to prepare universities for their QS World University ranking. So really appreciate Graham, who'll be co-moderating today's session, bringing his regional and solutions perspective. So please welcome Graham.
Thanks, Jason. Good to be here.
Thanks, Graham. Okay, so we're talking about the review and promotion processes and workflows. So I'm going to go very quickly through a few of the findings that Elsevier have done through the last sort of 6 to 12 months, and then I'll hand over to Somone to really talk through her experience and what California State University and their journey went through. So I wanted to start off with this slide, which is really about why we're here, what we're talking about, and we're really talking about academic staff and really putting them at the center of the success of the universities and higher education. So they have, this slide just sort of shows the intricate relationship that the academic staff have to all the operations within the university, things like obviously student success and education, research outputs and impact, but also things like governance and leadership and collaboration and partnerships of the university. So the academic staff itself is integral in terms of a university's higher success. And that's why things like the review and promotions processes, how we support the academic staff through their career journeys is vital. One of our partners in the university sector, this is one of their quotes where they talk about how the investment is extremely important for them, not only for their student success, but also the university success. So Elsevier sponsored a study or conducted a study about a year and a half ago. We researched over 428 universities, senior leadership, academics across various countries, over 87 countries. We comprised a study and a full report. So if you're interested, the QR code there, if you're interested in downloading that, there's a link to it as well. So we talked to university leaders, asking them in terms of their academic faculty, what were the key challenges that they were facing? Where are they seeing that they're doing well? Where are they seeing things that they need to improve on? We also released a number of research and white papers. So here's some of those. We talked about digital transformation projects and why that's important from a faculty or an academic staff point of view. And then we talked about how using data to provide impacts and outcomes for your university or illustrate impact. And then we also talked about new sort of features and functionalities that we could see in the academic space. So if you're interested in those white papers, there is a handouts tab just up at the top right. You can certainly go there and get copies of each of those white papers. Some of the findings that we found out from the studies that we did was from our senior leadership of the universities that we surveyed. When they were talking about the academic review and promotion process, 90% of senior leaders felt that there was that equity was really important to ensure that there was a consistent approach across the university. But they also felt that there were different processes. 68% felt that there were different, that it was different from non-academic staff. 78% of senior leaderships wanted better visibility over this process. A lot of the processes they weren't able to report on. They weren't able to get data on what was the process, where were people at in their process. So there was a number of outcomes that we saw from these studies. One of the interesting things, I've just put this in a quadrant style graph just to sort of show you where and so this is sort of graphing where there's high priorities for performance areas around human capital or academic staff management, and where the universities felt they were performing. So if you look over on the right, ensuring compliance, most of the universities we surveyed felt like it was really important to be compliant in their processes, and they also felt like that the systems they had in place and the processes they had in place were strong. So, but where you look over on that left side is where there's a high priority, but maybe they're not performing well. And so certainly retaining faculty. So in terms of keeping academic staff, ensuring that they see value in their roles and continuing that, and attracting new faculty to their university. That's where they felt that that was really important, but they didn't necessarily have the tools or the visibility to see that. And certainly, looking at it from another point of view, the current challenges that were identified by academic leaders, things like funding and grant acquisition obviously is key top of mind for universities, and this is surveyed across the globe, so they may differ per region. Research productivity, another important thing, and then we talk about administrative duties and staff burnout and publication pressures, and these are the kind of things that we're going to talk about today. That they're important challenges that universities and academic leaders see, and so how can we support that? And then we ask academic staff, where are they seeing issues around time management or research productivity or workload? And certainly these results show that the academic staff, and when we say faculty, just so we're clear, faculty, obviously that's a US term, how they refer to academic staff. So I just want to make sure we clear that up. So when we say faculty in this case, we're talking about academic staff. So academic staff wish they had more time to spend on things that are important. They definitely feel like their workload has increased. They're feeling like there's staffing shortages, and certainly that's impacted, and certainly recently in Australia, where we've seen a lot of universities making cuts to academic faculties. And then also things about just administrative duties and things like that, taking time. So how can we support academics to do that better? I've been spending a lot of time in the last year and a half. I've been with Elsevier for the last 2 years. I work across the APAC region. And certainly what I've been, when I'm speaking to universities and what I'm hearing is that there's a lot of, we're talking about the review and promotion of academic staff and some of the ability to use that process, what we're seeing is that there's very different processes that occur across different universities. Typically, they involve a lot of different types of technologies, not one particular technology. And usually there's a lot of manual processes that are being used. So things like emails and share drives and even folder paper documents being used in this type of process, which means that there's a heavy administration burden on this process, not only for the administrators, for the people that are managing this process, but also for the academic staff as well. So they're finding that it's a big workload to go through this review or promotion process or tenure. If you have tenure at your university, it's not a thing in the ANZ, but potentially outside the ANZ, it might be. So it's slow, it's time consuming, and it's affected, affecting their ability to focus on what they want to do, which is teaching and research and service. So one of the solutions that we're going to sort of talk about, and where Simone's going to talk about, is what's called a faculty information system, or what we call Interfolio. So a solution that's been around for 25 years. It's used heavily in the US. We have over 450 clients across the US that utilize it. And we're starting to see uptake in the APAC region as well to help improve this particular process. Make those committee workflows and evaluation processes much more seamless, and allow universities then to focus on things like career development and have that data that they can support through an academic's career journey, make business decisions quicker, and also being able to see where academics are at in their career journey to allow for you to retain that academic staff, and also by having those systems in place, being able to attract new academic staff. So Interfolio, and very quickly, I just wanted to show you very quickly. This is what Interfolio is in terms of the modules that make up it. We've got 4 key sort of modules: faculty search, lifecycle management, review, promotion and tenure, faculty activity reporting. Those all cover different areas of the academic lifestyle. Some are hiring, some are that review, promotion and tenure, and some are faculty activity reporting, which is that data collation. So Somone now is going to speak to her experience, what journey that her university, California State University, went through in working out what their challenges were and how they arrived and implemented a solution like Interfolio. So I might just stop there, and I will stop presenting there. Oh, you've got that. Perfect.
Thank you. Again, good morning. Thank you so much for joining us today. My name is Somone Washington, and I am an analyst with the Office of Academic Affairs at California State University, Long Beach, in Long Beach, California. In this role, I serve as the campus lead for managing the RTP module of Interfolio, which is what we use to workflow academic evaluations, sabbaticals, and just this past fall, range elevations. But what did the workflow look like before using Interfolio's RPT module? So on our campus, we have about 300 academics being evaluated each year. And some academics submit a 1/2-inch binder, where others submit a 3-inch binder. There are also publications that the academics have contributed to, whether it be journals or book chapters or entire books that they have authored themselves, and they're submitting those pieces of literature, those publications, along with their binders. And with that, submitting the physical binder, they would need to submit that by the 5 o'clock deadline of when the dean's office closed. So there was a fixed deadline of getting those physical copies into the dean's office before the office closed. The dean's office was responsible for storage and security. And if your institution is anything like ours, storage space is at an all-time high, in high demand, but there's not a lot of it. And so the committee members would have to go into these secured spaces, which basically is any space that has a door that locks. And so sometimes this space looks like an already overfilled file room. It could be a storage closet that is converted for this temporary use. And a lot of times these spaces are small and cramped. They may or may not have air conditioning. There may just be enough space for a desk for the evaluator to go in and review the evaluation documentation that the candidates have submitted. And so once the department and faculty levels have completed their levels of review, and also the dean, there's another final level, which includes the provost, which means that for each of the faculty, the executive assistant is usually responsible for getting all of those binders and the material from their faculty to the Office of Academic Affairs. And so before joining this team, I was an executive assistant with our College of Education. So it was my responsibility to get the binders to the provost's office. And I'm about 5'3", 128 pounds. So if you can imagine me carting all of these binders from our faculty from one side of campus to the other on an incline. And you can imagine what happened along the way is that some of the binders fell off of the cart and papers were flying everywhere. And so I'm running for my life to try to catch the papers that have fallen over and just flown everywhere, and only to find that some of the papers were not numbered. And so trying to figure out like how to put these binders back together was a nightmare. And I was also thinking that maybe that was my last day at work. But however, delivering those binders, and after the provost finished their level of review, getting all of those binders back to the faculty at the dean's office. And in the paper process, the provost would submit letters to the faculty mailboxes with the decision in the letter. And so because that is the way our academics receive their decisions from the provost, a lot of them wouldn't even come back to the dean's office to retrieve their binders. And so that then contributed to the already overfilled file room. And so over the course of many years of evaluating in this way, it created a lot of paper waste, as you can imagine. And so understanding that this wasn't the best process, some of our administrators and academics who had served as committee members had begun to explore digital solutions to streamline this process. And some of our sister campuses had already started using Interfolio's RPT module to workflow their evaluation process. And the last straw happened on our campus in 2016. And at that time, we were using Microsoft Access to maintain our academic evaluation data. And in 2016, our database got corrupted, irreparably so. And so we just lost a lot of our data. And so after evaluating options, including Microsoft SharePoint, InfoReady, we chose to go with Interfolio's RPT module after finding it met most of our evaluation requirements. And so once we acquired the module, we began to put together a plan of implementation. And so part of our plan is that we decided to implement a pilot instead of doing a full implementation for the first year. And so we selected 2 pilot faculty, one that represented most faculty's basic requirements, and another that had many special circumstances to test the various scenarios that we might encounter while using the system. And the project team announced the move to Interfolio to the campus community, letting them know that this is what was coming. And we offered support to the academics to get their material digitized for those that needed help doing that. We prepared a project team, we mapped out the RTP process, and we set deadlines for the task to launch the pilot in the fall of 2017. And in order to get ready for the pilot, we did some pre-planning in the spring of 2017. And at that time, we created department and faculty units within the RPT module. We created committees, base templates for the candidate cases. We established the security roles, and we updated settings that mimicked the paper evaluation process. We also created candidate packet requirements based on academic collective bargaining agreements and the university evaluation policies. We created case structures, candidate forms, template instructions, and links that we embedded in the templates. And we also created some case review steps. We tested the core system, and we also tested enhanced functionality end to end before we started the pilot. We also created guides for our candidates and our evaluators for faculty coordinators, as well as an internal process guide for administrative users, much of which can be found on our website. We also provided training for faculty coordinators, candidates, evaluators, and the administrators that were overseeing the evaluation process. And we created an ongoing support model for all of the campus users. And so our pilot start was between fall 2017 through spring of 18, and we launched 5 different evaluation types during the pilot: retention, tenure, promotion, periodic mini evaluations, and the evaluated tenure academic evaluations. And we chose 2 faculty, the University Library and the College of Education. And we also chose 2 departments from a larger faculty, which we call the College of Health and Human Services. And throughout the pilot, we got feedback from all of those faculty, and we adjusted the system throughout the cycle. And so that made us ready for the full launch in the fall of 2018 through the spring of 2019. And so that included all 8 faculty and 1 counseling center on our campus. And we continued training and support through the first year of implementation. We also offered workshops that coincided with the candidate packet deadlines. We offered the open labs, which are drop-in opportunities for candidates who needed help navigating Interfolio. We offered mini workshops during the academic meetings. We offered one-on-one trainings in person or via Zoom for candidates and evaluators. And then in the fall of 2019, we expanded our use of the module to include sabbatical applications, which was an additional 400 cases annually. The following fall, we further expanded our use of the module by incorporating lecture evaluations, which can be between 8 and 1,200 cases annually. And our newest expansion, which just happened this past fall, was including range elevations, which added an additional 84 cases this year. So some of the outcomes that we experienced in using this solution is that we eliminated a lot of paper waste. We eliminated lost information. Candidates and evaluators experienced a longer deadline. So instead of having to meet a 5 p.m. deadline because a physical office was closing, candidates and evaluators had an additional few hours because it was an online submission. So the deadline went from 5 p.m. to 11:59 p.m. There's internal storage and security within the module, so we didn't have to worry about physically securing any items. The evaluators could serve in a more comfortable environment. It could be in their office or at their home. Academics reported a significant decrease in time that it took them to prepare their material for evaluation. Specifically, one academic noted taking what used to take 24 hours of administrative time per file went down to 2.5 hours per file to create their material. So the process mapping that happened in order to move to the online workflow identified gaps in the manual process, and using the RTP solution helped to standardize those parts of the workflow across the campus. There's easier access to candidate material for evaluators, which made space for deeper evaluation and revealed areas of improvement in the evaluation process itself. and having more accurate evaluation data to include in the annual report that the Office of Academic Affairs submits in compliance with the state institutional reporting requirements. Some future plans for expanded use is that we're planning to move our professional development plan evaluation for our first year academics, which is a slightly different evaluation process that is still currently paper-based. And we're also interested in acquiring additional modules, including faculty activity reporting and web profiles. And some key takeaways for transitioning from a paper process to the RTP module is that having a documented plan for a successful implementation, to create a team for implementation, which can include administrators, directors, business analysts, staff from the IT department on campus, with input from academic affairs staff and union consultations to ensure the process maintains integrity. And when communicating to your campus community for adoption and buy-in, definitely share the benefits that the digital platform provides, such as extended submission times and secure access, and plan to address the union's concerns about the technology's impact on the review process. Jason, I think you're up next.
Is that for me? Sorry. Yeah, just sorry, I wasn't sure if that was where I jumped in. Thanks, Somone. That was great. And I've got a few questions that I'd like to ask you. But before I do that, what we thought we'd do is do a quick poll of the audience and ask them a few questions about what are some of the challenges that they're facing. So, Nicole, I think you're going to put up a poll. Oh, you do. Oh, so we're not doing the poll now?
We're doing the poll now.
Oh, okay. The poll is up there. So we'll find out the results. Oh, there you go. Okay. So we'll just let people respond to the poll. So if you could take some time and respond to those questions that you see in the poll. Okay, I'll give you 10 more seconds and then we'll move on. All right, thanks everyone for responding. That'll give us some insight into what's experienced across the APAC region. See if it aligns with what we're certainly seeing as we go across the APAC region. So, thanks, Simone. One thing that I just wanted to start off with, in terms of some of the challenges that you expressed in sort of implementing the solution. You touched on it a bit in terms of adoption and user adoption. And certainly that's one of the questions that when Graham and I are out speaking to clients across the APAC region about implementing any new technology is about, what do we see as some of the challenges and what are some of the processes that have worked with other clients in terms of getting their the users to actually use the system, because any system is only as good as actually getting used and actually the solution actually being implemented within the processes. So maybe just take us through some of the key things that you found that worked well in terms of getting people, sort of utilizing the system? You talked about, sort of re-emphasizing the benefits, but what were some of the practical things that you did in terms of getting people actually using the system?
Yes. So, three keys to success when it comes to buy-in and adoption of new technology, in my opinion, is communication, responsiveness, and professional development opportunities. So it's very important to communicate often and truthfully about what is going on with the implementation, what's going on with the software, if if things are going down or if things are not working properly, that we get ahead of it as much as we can and we communicate that out to the users. Um, I often would call Interfolio support, and they would give solutions, and I would share that out to the campus. Um, so, also communicating the benefits always. And responsiveness is also important for relationship building and trust. So when users are reaching out with questions or asking for assistance, like the turnaround time for the response to that matters, and it builds trust with the users that they have a reliable source of assistance. And over time, that word gets around to other academics that, hey, if you're having trouble with the system, all you have to do is call this person and they will get back to you right away. Um, and so building those relationships and that trust is very helpful to get people to be interested in wanting to use the system and not being afraid to try it because they know that they have support. And then offering professional development opportunities around the module, around the solution, in as many different formats as you can, as often as you can, just to give as many touch points with the system and the users as possible, to give them as many opportunities to ask questions and just use the system and try it out. And if they get, stuck, that they have reference points, whether it's guides or workshops or drop-in sessions or us visiting them in their college meetings or doing one-on-one sessions, just a lot of different ways for them to learn about the system so that they feel comfortable using it.
Great. Thanks for that, Somone. The thing that we just wanted to talk about briefly as well was some of the challenges that we've seen around, and you mentioned some of those, sort of when you gave quite a good story about how you used to have to sort of push or pull the binders and papers flying in the wind and going away, and I'm sure I was going to make some joke about my hair in the wind, but I didn't know how to tie that in. But certainly what we're seeing across the APAC region is that they're maybe not so much paper-based. I think a lot of people have moved away from paper-based, but I'd be interested to see in our survey, whether in our poll that we did, whether that's still a thing or not. But we are certainly seeing that people are using inconsistent methods for their evaluations. There's inconsistent methods of actually pulling that data in, and certainly from the academic experience of it, certainly we're seeing that they're feeling like they're spending a lot more time having to do these things. You mentioned, sort of one of your academics, dropping from, what was it, sort of something 24 hours down to 2.5 hours. So the impact on the university must be, not only the academic themselves having more time to do other things, but also, and people often ask us about, what's the return on investment of putting in a system like this, and it is hard to measure because you're looking at things like time savings of academics, and they're doing things quicker and better and spending time doing other things, and that was a great example of showing how that's a real improvement in terms of other things. Were there any other areas that you saw big improvements that you could sort of share with us?
Yes, so during the implementation process and really working with the different faculty and understanding what their processes were in the paper world so that we could reproduce that within the Interfolio module, that was really eye-opening. And also in the first few years of implementing Interfolio module was really eye-opening because what we've discovered is that although every faculty and every college is using the same policies to guide their process, they were all doing it differently. And
Mm.
so that becomes an issue of equity for those who are being evaluated. It becomes a matter of levels of bias when it comes to evaluations itself. And so this was implementing this digital product, this digital solution really helped us uncover a lot of the inconsistencies and inequities in the way that each faculty interpreted those policies that were guiding the process. And so this was really an opportunity for us to standardize our evaluation process across the campus in a way that was truly equitable. And so that evaluations can happen in a truly equitable way. So we thought we were doing it in the paper world, but we really weren't. And so moving to this process and moving to this specific module got us to where we thought we were before.
Mm. That's a great. It actually reminds me of Graham and I were actually speaking with a a partner in Singapore recently, and just talking about them looking at their existing processes and going, we want to just map these to a digital process. But sometimes they have to look at some of those processes and actually go, sometimes it's not going to map exactly to what a digital process could look like, and now is a chance to actually reevaluate. Isn't that's kind of what you saw too, Graham?
Yeah, very, very much so. It was a different perspective. Like, people were sort of looking for that sort of process that is going to solve everything. But then when you start to uncover all the nuances, there's a lot more to asking the questions, and I think people see that there's a need for a greater solution and a stronger solution in place, but they just don't quite know how to get there and what that looks like. And it's all part of the journey. And I think, Somone, you've touched on that, sort of like, and it certainly, I would be right in assuming it hasn't stopped either, that, you're continuing to evolve. It's not like a simple case of implementing a system like this and then stopping, as it were. So you're always looking for constant improvement. Mm-hmm. I did notice that there was a question for you, Somone, that just popped up from Michael. Hi, Michael. And did you require much internal IT support to implement the new system? And how did you integrate the system with your and do you integrate the system with your university data warehouse for additional reporting? Great question, Michael. Somone.
So, yes. So we did work closely with our IT department to implement our Interfolio module. Our business analyst within the Office of Academic Affairs did a lot of the heavy lifting. And so she was responsible and spearheading the implementation process and doing the back end work for that process. And we built a relationship with our IT department. And so they have agreed to allow us or loan us one of their personnel at certain times of the year where we need a specialized help. And so what that looks like for us is we've moved away from creating cases manually in the system at the start of the evaluation cycle. We've moved to employing API to create the cases for us. And so our business analyst works with our dedicated IT person to execute the API so that the cases are automatically or created through the API. And so it's important to have that relationship. And so if you are able to develop that ahead of time, that would be great. The other point is there was a question about data warehouse.
Mhm.
And so what is different or how we manage both systems is that we use the data warehouse, the PeopleSoft, the Oracle system for the data entry. So the results of the evaluations are put into PeopleSoft, and that way we can like create some reports and some specialized queries to get out some different reports out of our PeopleSoft. So we use the Interfolio RPT module for the workflow of the evaluations, and then we use PeopleSoft and Data Warehouse specifically for data, inputting the results of those evaluations so that we can generate some reports that way.
I think that's a great point, Somone, because I think we get that asked a lot. Like, we've got an HR system, so why would we need something like RPT or And so I think it's just re-emphasizing the fact that it's not replacing that HR; it's actually supporting that HR system and enhancing that workflow and that solution that HR systems typically won't do. And a lot of universities that I speak to that are using HR systems are doing a workaround for this process, utilizing their HR systems. So instead of sort of looking at a system like this that could potentially do it rather than doing workarounds. So thanks for that. Also, just wanted to highlight the results of the poll that we had. Are we able to share those? Anyway, I'll speak through them. The top one that we, in relation to academic staff review and promotion processes, what would best describe your university's current challenges? The number one was high administrative burden for academics and staff. So that seems to be sort of consistent across what we've experienced. The next one was disconnected systems and duplicated data across the HR and shared drives. So, and then third was the complex committee workflows. So there does to be some sort of synergy across those different across what we've been speaking to universities across the APAC region. Obviously, having Somone here from the US and understanding some of the challenges that they faced, it does support that there are some similar challenges this side of the pond, so to speak. But we just want to finish off. If there's any other questions, feel free to ask or in the QA or even in the chat. Feel free to ask some questions. Somone, sorry. Yep, go ahead, Grant.
Yeah, I might just jump in if you don't mind. I was interested in those results because you talk about the high admin burden. And I mean, that obviously doesn't come as a great surprise. What we want is academic staff and researchers just undertaking their core activities, teaching and research, primarily. We want them doing a lot of administrative burden. But what we do find, and certainly, it's pulled up, is this disconnected data story as well, that often data at universities is collected for a particular purpose and not necessarily reused with other systems. So, I've certainly seen promotion processes where the librarian's interested to collect publications for the point of highlighting research performance, but then the same list has to be regenerated by the academic to say what publications have you done, because the Office of Research of HR might be running the promotion round and things like that. So it sort of adds to that overarching burden. A question for you, Somone. Did you find that the way you've collected data from third-party systems to pull it in to make it a little more streamlined for your, community overall, did you find that you had to ask for people to change what they were collecting, or were you just able to reuse what they already had?
Yeah, so for the Interfolio RPT module, we were asking the candidates to submit the same material that they were submitting in their binders. So even in the way that we created our templates for the candidates, it's divided into sections that would have been the tabs in the dividers within the binder. So we tried to make it flow in the same way that it was before, in the binder paper world. So we didn't ask them for anything new or different. We just tried to move that from paper to the online process. And again, we have these evaluation policies that guide what we're doing. So we had to be in compliance with that as well.
Certainly. It's an interesting point, but because as Jason mentioned, we're sort of, when we're talking to potential customers, as it were, and people that are looking to implement such a system, we're also being asked about, well, what should we be doing? What's seen as good practice? What's seen as a different way of doing that? You still have to adhere to your policies, for sure. But it's interesting, people are asking sort of like some extended questions, what other data could we or should we be capturing? And I think in general, this sort of implementation of a system like this allows any university just to review the whole policy framework, the process, the way they're doing it, to see whether it's actually still aligned with the overall objectives of what they're looking to do. But yeah, thank you very much for sharing.
Yeah.
Joseph.
And yeah, just we could go on and ask more questions, but unfortunately, I've just been told that we're running out of time. We're actually over time already, so we're going to have to wrap things up. But very interesting conversation. We really appreciate your time, Somone. Really appreciate your insight, Graham. It's been a great discussion. We hope we can do it at another time. We hope the audience got something out of it. We hope that if you do have questions, certainly reach out to us. We'd love to hear from you. But again, thank you, Somone, for sharing your experience and the experience at California State University. We really appreciate your time and sharing your experience. Thank you, everyone that joined the webinar today. When you leave the webinar, there is a survey. We'd really appreciate your input completing the survey. So please take time just to give us a bit of feedback, because we do want to do more of these. We just want to make sure that they're hitting the mark and anything that we can do to make them better. So appreciate your time. Thanks, Graham. Thanks again, Somone. And thank you, everyone, for joining today.
Yes. Thank you for having me.
Thank you.
Thanks.